This is Andrew for CollectionDX.com, and welcome to the second part of my DX Chogokin VF-19 Advanced review. We're going to be looking at the toy with its super packs, fast packs, whatever you like to call them, and also its other accessories like the display stand. Full disclosure though, I am cheating, and this is kind of prepped for it to receive its fast packs already, or advanced packs, I think the instructions call them. So doing that means, just as it is with a lot of Valkyries, clicking the gear walk joint just one down, just one position down, and straightening out the back of the leg so that it's still parallel to the rest of the airplane. Also, while I'm here, I just want to talk a little bit about what's going on underneath when you are returning this toy into fighter mode. I'm not sure if I made that clear in the last video, but the little tubes here, which they call them Vulcans in the instructions, these have to remain folded down because they are going to end up inside this little channel between the leg and the groin area, or just the underside of the airplane. Those tan panels I talked about before, you can kind of see them right here, those are going to be horizontal for fighter mode. They are vertical for battle mode. So again, keep that in mind. The little Vulcans, they hinge separately from the tan panels, but they often can move together. So again, you want them to be down away from the panels so that the Vulcans will fit right in this part. Also, you may notice that the VF-19 Advanced does have hard points, and they are designed, I believe, to use the same weapons included with the VF-171 packs. And I've actually tried putting some of these on here. They don't fit too well. They're really, really tight. In fact, they're so tight that in trying to get one on, the tension squeezed off one of the missiles, and actually it was one of the, it was actually one of these pods, and it squeezed it off so tight that it bounced off the floor, and actually it wasn't this one, I believe it was this one, and it unglued the back panel here. So yeah, do this at your own risk. You might have to, I don't know if you would want to do this, but shave down these missiles so they fit better, but anyway, it's, for some reason it doesn't seem to work as well as they originally intended. Alright, so now it's time to actually play dress up with this pretty baby. So in demonstrating the armoring process for the VF-19 Advanced, I'm going to start with the most frustrating mode to do this in, which is fighter mode, because it's just way easier in Battleroid and Gearwalk mode. So you know what, why not go the hardest way first? So I've left the shoulder pauldrons up. These are not tabbed in yet. They will be. And the biggest thing that you're going to encounter with trying to get these on is the little fill-in parts that go in the back of the leg here, which honestly are not really visible in fighter mode, but I'm sure you're still going to want to do it because, hey, that's how it's supposed to be done. So with these, they look nearly identical, but you want the side that has a little notch on it to be facing inward. This is actually part of what gives the arms enough room to still store properly in fighter mode. So with this, you want to try to keep this all together, just like keep the legs pegged in to the sides. And what you're going to want to do is, there's just a tab here that goes into a slot on the back, is work this in while it is all just still connected. That's actually the easiest way to do it, because any other way you're going to quickly realize that, oh god, these little parts, they do not want to stay in. I mean, they stay in fine in Gearwalk mode and Battleroid mode, but in fighter mode, stuff just knocks them off constantly. Okay, so that's in there. You want to leave this a little bit folded down, the little flap on the shoulder pauldron, because that's going to fit underneath of this little gray piece here. Also, you're going to deal with the shoulder armor parts, and these are designed to tab into the slot right on the end there. So you kind of have all this going on. These have another tab that goes into a slot in the back of the leg right here, and you just kind of bring this all down. Again, you really need to just be cautious when doing this, because you're going to frustrate yourself if you push this too hard and end up dislodging the gray panel. So, and also remember that the shoulder pauldron does move in and out on its own joint. So you're going to kind of carefully try to sneak this all in there and hope that you're not going to push something out of the way. Maybe you just want to like bend this back just a little bit so that it all starts to fit together. And there it goes. It actually went pretty smoothly. And then this part will just get tabbed into the back here. Just kind of feel that out. And there you go. So moving right along, we're going to deal with the leg packs. And they have some nice detail on the inside. These just have some tabs that just slot into the side here. So that's pretty easy to deal with. They also have a slot here, and that's what's going to go into the wing root. As far as I can tell, the slot on top does not do anything when you have the packs equipped. So that actually makes it a little bit easier in some ways. So you're just going to, work all this back together on the side, and I'll just show you one side on camera because it's identical on the other side. Alright, so just make sure everything plays nicely. Remember, there's actually a pair of tabs that go into this part of the shoulder from the pauldron to the shoulder itself. So you kind of have to like work that, or line it up and work them in there. Otherwise, this doesn't cooperate. So again, it's kind of just a little frustrating to get this all done the right way, because a lot of this stuff can move on its own. There's a lot of joints in here. So, and I just dislodged the little gray thingy. Alright, so I'm just going to pull this down. And you know what? Let me do this off camera and come back to it. Alright, so I put all the fast packs on, well, up to the point I had stopped on both sides, and for the most part stuff is cooperating. Hopefully it'll all stay nice and tabbed in. So the next part is these tiny little pieces, which actually have some nice tampograph detail, that just go and slide up into these vents on top of the shoulder pauldrons. So you just stick those in there. And there's also these little tiny pointed bits that also go in there. And these bits, they're actually not as hard to remove as they would look. Basically, you would just rotate them and pull them out. And they kind of pull themselves out anyway as you are rotating them. And this is so not cooperating, but I'm not going to worry about it right now. Anyway, so in this configuration, it's almost identical to the Macross Plus version, except for these things here. And if you leave those off, then it is pretty much the Macross Plus version. But the one that showed up in the second Frontier movie had these large Frontier-style boosters on the side. And here's one of the boosters, along with one from a VF-25, and you can see they are very, very similar, as they should be, although they are not the same piece remolded as far as I can tell. They're just made to look nearly identical. The biggest thing that tips me off is the slot for attaching them is different, and also this detail up here is just a little bit different. The vent is slightly larger on this one than it is the other one, but other than that, they're pretty well matched as far as what they're supposed to look like and what they can do. And all the little thrusters on the side here do move. And actually attaching them, let me just straighten that out for a bit. So when you're attaching these, SMS logos is facing out, you need to have the wings as far forward as they will be, because that's how these end up sliding all the way down. I've done this a few times. I haven't seen any scuffs or scraping on the paint yet, but it seems like it might happen at some point. So, with this, and I do have this on the right way, don't I? I'm starting to confuse myself here. So, with this, there is a tiny little peg that's going to go into this circle right next to the wing root right there. So, and there's also on the other side, or the bottom side, there's this tab right here, and there's another slot, again, in roughly the same area on the bottom of the wing root. So you're just going to slide these in, and you just kind of have to work it until it clicks into place. Sometimes you have to kind of like pull the wing forward a bit to kind of get it to sit right with the whole tab and peg assembly, and it's just frustrating to do because this thing likes to pop off a whole heck of a lot. Alright, and you also want to make sure that the wings are in, touching as close to the legs with the fast pack as possible. And that should be packed in more, but it doesn't feel like cooperating. Alright, so again, same thing on this side. Make sure the wing's all the way forward, and just slide it in there. And try to find a nice place you can grip it in order to pull this all together. So the tricky thing is that you really have to slide it while the wings are forward, and they have to definitely be in a certain position to cooperate with the peg and the tab. And they also really like to force themselves off a lot more than they should. So I'd like to do this on camera just to show you guys, but it's being kind of a bear right now. I don't know why this isn't working. Tell you what, I'm going to get it working and then we will come back to this. Alright, here is the VF-19 Advance with all of its fast packs attached, and this is more or less how you saw it in that 10-second cameo from Macross Frontier, The Wings of Goodbye. And oh, I just noticed that came untabbed again. So yeah, putting the armor on is just, it's kind of a chore, more than it should be. And you have to go slow with certain parts, like the inner gray piece here on the back of the calf, and just getting the boosters on the wings to cooperate can also be a challenge. And not that it doesn't look nice with like this, but doing it in fighter mode is just, it's just not fun. You know, it's just more of a project than it needs to be. So while I have the figure in fighter mode, I will show you the display stand. So I'm going to pop in the landing gear and try not to cut myself on these sharp edges. Do that in the front and the back, and let's show off the fighter mode stand. So this is not really any different than lots of the other Bandai Macross Frontier toys. This cradle, the way it differs from the ones for the VF-25 or YF-30 or all the other ones, is this tab is going to go into the tab underneath. That's actually where you plug in the chest plate or the crotch plate in fighter mode, and there's also these two little cradle pieces on the end here. And these, the reason why there's two sets of holes is because the top part, the top set, is for when you're in regular fighter mode without the packs attached, because the legs descend a little bit. They just need to readjust a little bit as well. Also, fortunately, these are labeled L&R, so you can put them in the right place without too much trouble. So you just kind of look under here and line up that slot with the tab. And here we go. This is the included display stand. I've said this often about the Bandai stands. They're very functional but kind of ugly, and it's really just the same deal here. It will display the toy, and it does it at the regular just gate guard angle, where it's always just up like this. And if you want, you can also pop this on the end here for display in fighter mode, but at a much higher position. And you know what, I will totally crank this up and show you that right now. Hey, look, that's a lamp. Alright, so what you're gonna do is to set this down for now. Get this thing off. Undo that, flip it around, and here we go. Although when you put it up like this, the fighter usually ends up like pointing towards the ground just a little bit, so be aware of that. So okay, this is how it looks on the stand when it's in its vertical position. So not really like stable, but not really unstable. It's just kind of wobbling up here. I would suggest keeping it down in the regular position. Alright, now let me show you this toy with the packs in Gearwalk mode. Alright, here's the VF-19 Advance in Gearwalk mode. I'm sure you're wondering how well did the parts stay on during the transformation. Let's just say you can try to keep the parts on during the transformation, but you do that at the risk to your own sanity. And honestly, this is not a terribly flattering mode for the VF-19 in general. So adding a bunch of big packs that get in the way of the arms isn't really doing it any favors. But this is to show you that, yes, you can have the packs on in Gearwalk mode, and the toy will stand up pretty well, fully loaded. I don't really have a lot of suggestions on what to do with this mode. I would try to just leave these off before you try to bring the arms up and around, or at the very least keep these out of the way as best you can, assuming they don't just pop off on their own anyways. And from the back we can see here's the little gray pieces that fill in the calves, and they will stay on like this when there's nothing bumping into them, but as you can imagine, they're like the first thing to go when you're trying to transform it. So that is that. So the stand for Gearwalk mode, pretty similar to the stand for fighter mode. It's just kind of canted at an angle so that it can hold the back of the body as it's angled upwards for Gearwalk mode. And all you have to do is just again line it up here underneath with the tab and slot, and here you go. Here is the VF-19 Advance. There's some lights again with the stand. So here you go. Next we're going to look at Battleroid mode, all armored up, and that's where things get interesting. And so here is the VF-19 Advance with its super packs in Battleroid mode. And as you can see, it can still stand even with these big boosters hanging off of its wings. Kind of Muv-Love style, wouldn't you say? And one thing I showed you but didn't really mention in the first video is Bandai added an extra hinge to the whole wing section so that they can remain parallel to the body even in Battleroid mode, and that's really for this. And that's one of the things that the Arcadia toy cannot do, so whenever you see it with those really rare aftermarket super parts that look like this, its wings cannot actually go to this position, so they had to kind of kludge different solutions for that. But anyway, yeah, it's these are huge, and depending on how tight your toy's joints are, really affects how well you can display them. You can see this one is just flopping down, but this one is still pretty tight. And since the joint is all the way in here, I'm not sure how easy it is to tighten it. There's a screw there. I have not tried to take it apart. Now, to rectify this situation, Bandai did my favorite thing that they do. By favorite, I mean most hated thing that they do. They gave you a pair of stands, which are just the Thomas Stage arm with the little figure clips on the end. So you are supposed to just bend one of these into position and just have the stand do some of the heavy lifting and actually try to get these in a position where they will work. And now just pretend that this isn't actually here, helping you keep the booster upright. Again, it only happens on one side, so it's just kind of weird on my figure. But yeah, so you just get these things, and the reason the arm is so long is because when you put the toy on the stand, you need an extra long arm in order to make sure that you have enough reach. So with this one on the stand, you put the adapter like this, and it's gonna just snap in place. There's just kind of a little slot in there. There you go. So here we go. And now it's on the display stand, being nice and tall, and you know, it feels about as secure as it was in any of the other modes. Alright, I'm going to pop him off of the stand and bring out old friend, sort of old, to close out this review. So here is a Yamato VF-19F, one of the Macross 7 designs, along with the Bandai DX Chogokin VF-19 Advance. I keep saying advanced with a D, but it's actually just advance, which is hard for an English speaker to say. But anyway, actually, you know what's a cool thing about the VF-19's fast packs, which are, again, just like the old YF-19, is that if you put these out like this, suddenly, hey, their shoulders look the same. But yeah, I thought that was a cool tie-in between the two designs. But anyway, Bandai's DX Chogokin, it's a pretty high quality toy. The build quality is excellent, even though some of the tolerances are maddeningly inconsistent, to the point where some of the tabs are just really hard to get out, and that will frustrate you during the transformation. But you can deal with most of those tabs if you are a bit of a hobbyist or whatever. The main thing, though, is that it's just a little more difficult to transform when compared to one of these, even the Arcadia YF-19, which is based off of this design. So that's really it. It's just a bit more frustrating to transform. It is largely similar. They're roughly on par with each other. The fact that you do get all this stuff with them, even if you don't really want to use them, that's still a plus in this toy's favor, a Macross plus. And it does have the waist joint, which is a neat idea, and not that it really accomplishes a whole lot, especially when you've got the big boosters on the side and just blocking a lot of the motion anyway. But regardless, it is still a good toy. It's really just up to your preferences and your own budget to which version of this you wish to pick up. Honestly, though, I'm looking forward to this more in Aisha's version for Macross 30 because it's pink, and that's going to be great. I'm sure they're going to make one based on this figure. It might be a regular release or a Tamashii Web exclusive, but they're not going to tool up an entire SMS-themed VF-19 design and not get their money's worth out of those molds. So, plus she's going to be the new Super Robot Wars game, piloting her pink VF-19. But anyway, so most of the problems with this toy are just kind of the problems with the inherent design, because really, where are you going to put boosters on the VF-19? The Macross 7 ones, they put the boosters on the end of their shoulder pads. That looks silly and also kind of cool. So it's like, where are they going to put them on this toy? Put them on the wings. So, yeah. Anyways, thank you for watching this review. This has been Andrew from CollectionDX.com, still buried in Valkyrie toys.